Do you know how good it makes me feel every day that you get up and turn the television on, or before you go to bed at night, the show re-airs several times and it re-airs on our website whenever you want to watch it. Thank you for allowing us to come into your home and into your brains a little bit each day. I think you'll learn more on this 30-minute health show than you will on many others. Today I want to open the show talking about broccoli. Why? They're finding broccoli contains a protein called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is a pretty potent antifungal, and this show is all about fungus. Of all the animals in the world, I think I'd hate to be a mouse. I'm reading research papers, as are my producers, all the time, and they're talking about inducing cancer, inducing diabetes, inducing weight gain, and now inducing osteoarthritis into these poor little mice. You get up in the morning, you're going to be induced with a disease, and very often we induce it with fungus. We inject fungus into them. Fungus off-gases a secondary byproduct called a mycotoxin, and that gives them disease. Wonder if that's taking place in us. This is fascinating. Sulforaphane is an antifungal. When they gave it to mice with osteoarthritis, it slowed down the destruction of the cartilage. We don't have anything in the pharmacies. We don't have anything. There isn't a doctor that can cure this disease. There's nothing for it. So something as simple as what the good Lord put here, broccoli. Imagine letting food become our medicine. It should become your medicine today. You know what? Your lifestyle ultimately dictates whether you're well or whether you're not well. Let food become your medicine, and away we go. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Okay, now the casual Doug Kaufman is going to educate you a little bit. 2 new words for you today. Remember when we went through those big ones, mycotoxin, ochratoxin, aflatoxin? These are going to be easier because you know part of the words here. Immunocompromised, your immune system is compromised, and immunocompetent. How tired I have gotten in 45 years that I've studied all of this, the medical research saying, fungus really impacts immunocompromised patients, those with AIDS, those with cancer going through chemotherapy, those in which their immune system is already down. Okay, I'll give them that. When you wreck a person's immune system, they're more vulnerable to anything, and fungal infections is one of them. But don't tell me only immunocompromised patients get fungal infections. We're now studying asthma, for example. Many children who live in damp or moldy homes end up with asthma. They're 9 years old. Their immune system isn't compromised. So along with those 2 words, here's where I want to go today. I'm answering a real question that one of you wrote in. Why do some people get them, this is fungal infections, and some don't? Does it have to do with my immune system? Thank you. You know, I see light bulbs go on Facebook. I talk all the time. I'm typing. Last weekend, I must have spent 3 hours on Facebook answering questions. Please join us on Facebook. This is a venue I have short of television. I can't walk into your living room and shake your hand and say hello and sit and spend an hour with you. This is a way I have to try and point you into the right direction. Here's someone that gets it. Does my immune system have something to do with fungal infections? Here's the word immunocompromised, okay? Your immune system is compromised. People who are immunocompromised have a weakened immune system, making them more vulnerable to fungal infections or anything else. Giving rise to fungal infections, is this you? Lack of exercise, bad diet, stress and unhappiness, or fungus itself? See, most people don't know. Doctors don't understand this. Fungus causes you to become immunocompromised. So in a roundabout way, doctors are right when they say immunocompromised people are more vulnerable to fungus. If you're living in a moldy home, if you've had lots of antibiotics, if you drink too much, you are immunocompromised. They don't know that. That's one of the many properties or characteristics of fungus. It wrecks your immune system, okay? Now the next slide. Fungus hurts my immune system? Be still my heart. Bacteria and virus are not known to really wreck your immune system, but fungus causes you to be immunocompromised. How are you exposed to fungus and mold? Well, we talk about many things, even bird droppings, but here, indoor mold, water leaks inside your home, okay? That's one way. Many rounds of antibiotics, even when you were a child, or tetracycline for acne, antibiotics, penicillin, etc. Excessive alcohol intake. And then, look, diet, fast foods, packaged foods, cereals with corn, wheat, sugar, soda pops, etc. Folks, there comes a point in your life where you've got to get this. I know you're on a limited budget and you're going down to one of these big stores and you're thinking, well, cereal is all I can get. Man, get 4 grapefruits, get some avocados, get some green apples and carrots, and watch after a week or two, those of you who feel your immune system is down and you're not feeling well, watch when you eat that way how much better you feel. Wow, I got out of bed this morning and my hands are working, my stomach doesn't hurt, my bowels are working, just by changing your diet. Fast food, nada. Please know that. And finally, this word that we introduced this segment, it's immunocompetent. The exact opposite of being immunocompromised is having a good immune system. People who are immunocompetent have immune systems that are able to defend them against fungal infections, the flu, virus, etc. Being young, by the way, is one of the reasons we are immunocompetent. You can become immunocompetent when you avoid mold and fungus. We talk about this on Know the Cause all the time. When you eat a proper diet, we invented, as you know, the Phase 1 diet. It's on our website. It's free. Go look at it, knowthecause.com. Move, exercise, get out in the sunshine, live, love, laugh, and be happy. Wasn't that part of a song? And are careful with medications. Medications themselves can compromise your immune system. You watch the ads like I do on television every other night. It just blows my, and some people have died. They can be fatal, and they can give you cancer. So why wait? Go to your doctor right now, and then there's your doctor who says, sure, I'll give you that. At some point in our life, we have to know that as we age, we become immunocompromised, and we have to become immunocompetent. Diet, getting a good air filtration system in your house, exercise, sunlight, those are all ways to become immunocompetent. Okay, now that you're immunocompetent, how do we become medically competent? We look at doctors who work in areas of alternative medicine. One such doctor is my good friend, Dr. John Ganino. Watch this. My good buddy John Ganino, Dr. John Ganino joins us right now. Thank you for coming in today, really appreciate it. When I think of the word alternative, it means to me maybe a little off the beaten path. Right. In other words, this road will go quicker, but this is an alternative road. It's going to take a little longer, a little imposition, but alternative medicine maybe is named wrong for that reason, because I'm a guy who I'd go to you. If I had to go to a doctor, I'd go to you, and I'd want someone who thought outside of this box of give them a shot, write a prescription. You know, you still do that. I know you write a lot of prescriptions because you've got thousands of patients, but you'll sit down with a patient, hold their hand, talk to them, cry with them.
Pray with them.
Pray with them. What you do is amazing. It's no wonder your parking lot's always got police out there directing traffic. When you hear alternative and add medicine to that, are you an alternative medicine doctor?
The term I like to use is integrative. In other words, combining what you might call standard medicine with medicine that gets at the root cause. Simple example would be a patient who walks in and their blood pressure's 220 over 110 and say, well, Doug, you know, that's a dangerous pressure. We don't want you to have a stroke, so I want to put you on this medication. But I also want to sit down and let's talk about maybe getting a sleep study, seeing if maybe sleep apnea is not the cause, or let's talk about smoking cessation. Maybe smoking is the cause. Let's talk about losing this 60 pounds. That could be the cause. There are different things that contribute to it. Even things that are mental. I mean, people carry grudges. Maybe it's a forgiveness issue that they need to look at that'll bring their blood pressure down. So lots of different things to look at the cause of the problem. But I think that's the best doctor will mesh those two things in there. And then obviously, if the problem is sleep apnea and it's caused by their 60 pounds of weight, you correct them with a CPAP machine. So now you've treated that. You get their 60 pounds off. Now they can get rid of their CPAP machine and they're free and they're cured of their blood pressure. Then their blood pressure medicine goes away too. So.
We always talk on this show about the doctor's fault, the doctor's problem. Where do we lie in that? Because how many of the patients who come in to see you throw their insurance card up the front office and want a pill? I mean, how many people are really willing to do what you're talking about? You have exercise classes in there. The things you do are amazing. To try and teach a person, there are several disciplines you're going to need to know to get better, not a pill. You're going to need. So how much of it is our fault?
The word doctor comes from Latin. Dottore means to teach. So my job is to provide information. The patient is a big boy or a big girl, and they decide what they're ready to do. Are they ready to wake up, or do they want to stay asleep? And if they want to stay asleep and just take a pill, then we're patient with them. And then they may at some point get cancer or something, and we'll encourage them to look north and say, well, the Holy Spirit only has one operative context, which is love, 24/7, 365. So your cancer is not because you're good or bad. It's just feedback. Your pH is off. Your gut flora is off. Your spiritual, you need to forgive and you need to detox, and that's what's the spiritual message behind what befalls people, I think.
Good for you. We get frustrated with our doctors. Do you get frustrated with us? Does it upset you when I come in and say, look, take my blood pressure, 240 over 110, give me a prescription? Does it frustrate you, John, when you walk out of that office? Do you take that chart and just...
It really doesn't, Doug, although I don't want to look like a saint. Initially, I've been at this almost 20 years now. So initially, yes, it frustrated me. You're not doing what I tell you. Well, translation, you're not doing what I want you to do. You're not serving my ego. You're not another mark on the wall that I can ship, but look at all the people I saved. Now, with being woken up myself, it's a teacher. I'm a teacher, you're a teacher, and we provide information, and if people are ready to receive it, God bless them, and if they're not, then we just got to love them right where they are, and eventually, they may come around.
You know what I love most is when you walk in your clinic, it's like being in somebody's home. Did you build it that way for that reason? I mean, you've got the living room, you've got the vaulted ceilings and that huge glass room.
Yeah.
If I'm going to get an IV in someone's office, I don't want to be laying on a gynecologic exam table, with a needle in my arm. I want to be looking at the countryside. Did you build it that way on purpose?
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge my wife, Linda, because it's really a sort of venture, and we understand that the things that cause people to age, simplistically, everybody, is rotting and rusting. Rot is the slow overtaking of your body by fungus. Doug Kaufman is your leader. I don't really need to give you a whole lot because he's got that covered. Rusting has to do with toxins and adrenaline. Caffeine, nicotine, sugar, and in my own father's case, dead at 66 years old from cancer, workaholism.
Wow.
Anything that upregulates adrenaline oxidizes cellular structure and pushes it closer to cancer. Hence, prayer, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, things that make you more still are going to lengthen your life. So the design of the building, by primarily Linda with a little help from me, was to create an environment that is still and peaceful and adrenaline downregulating.
I think Guy Evans has said it best on Know the Cause, and now you know.
I was having a lot of irregular heartbeat. I'd been in the emergency room Thanksgiving morning is the last time. Through pursuing natural things, Dr. Dieterle is my physician, and he referred me to Dawn, said I should see her, and she got me started on the diet here about a month and a half ago, and I was also having some problems with ulcerative colitis, and I've been off my medication for that now for about a month. I don't think I've goofed up on the diet yet. I'm pretty strict with it. Pretty easy to try, and it doesn't have the side effects of drugs. I've been down some of the roads with drugs in the past, and it's hard to put my finger on it, but I always just figured that there was some way of fixing this without, drugs or surgery, and it sure. Well, my blood pressure, I have to attribute that to the diet too. 2 weeks ago it was 104 over 60. And last week it was 110 over 70. And I'd been running usually in the mid to upper 140s over 85 to 90.
Surely you guys don't think fungus is everything. Joining me right now is a doctor whose book I read in 1986,
Yes.
87, and he became one of my mentors. I was working at a hospital with Dr. David Weekley, Dr. Dennis Bodwin, and other doctors, and this book comes out. Remember, I'm the guy who thinks fungus is everything. I read through this book, and it's the first time he's talking about a species of fungi called yeast that don't just infect the vaginal tract, or don't just cause a little ringworm, or isn't jock itch or toenail fungus. He's talking about the brain and the hair and the kneecaps. Welcome aboard, Dr. Trowbridge. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you,
in.
Doug.
Do you hear that often? I mean, you're still in the same building
Yes.
where I met you 30 plus
Some
years
ago,
ago.
yes.
Still practicing medicine out there in Houston.
Yes.
Oh, this is the doctor who thinks yeast is everything.
Right.
But I gotta tell you, the longer I'm at this, the more I believe your book was dead on.
Well, just prove to me that I was wrong. You know, I tell patients, okay, well, let's just take care of that, let's take care of that. And I go, I know it sounds kind of arrogant, but it's not arrogant if I produce the results.
Good point. Good point. Stay on this diet for a period of time.
Exactly.
Take some antifungal drugs. I want to see you in 2 weeks. Then we'll check your cholesterol again or your blood pressure.
I don't even check the cholesterol. Do you know why? Because it's just a body defense mechanism. Get the body in shape, then you worry about what things are going on. All these people come in these cholesterol medications. Those are just toxic antifungal medications.
Yeah. Do you still go to a medical meetings?
Oh, all the time.
See, I would think a guy like you would be bored to tears.
Oh, not at all.
Hearing about the limbic system,
Not at
the
all.
effect of synaptic transmission. That I just read the other day, what was it? The CARD9 gene is what activates fungus. Wait a minute, fungus infects. Now they're trying to draw the gene pool into that for what? Drugs.
Exactly. Well, I just went to a medical meeting. I was the first physician president of the International Academy of Biological Dentistry and Medicine.
Really?
And we just had our annual meeting in Houston. It was, without doubt, the best medical meeting I have ever been to. And it was wonderful because we talked about nitric oxide, we talked about inflammatory pathways and endothelial changes and such. And
Did you talk about thimerosal?
No, of course not.
These are, by the way, biological
because-
dentists are guys who pull these out, not
Because
put
we're
'em in.
so far past that. We're now looking at physiologic corrections to the problems that we've created in dentistry and in medicine.
Can we take a turn there?
Sure.
This is interesting. So many doctors I know couldn't fix the patient totally. These guys who understood deep medicine, physiological medicine, couldn't fix the patient even with antifungal drugs until they'd agreed to get their mercury amalgam out.
Right.
There's a group of doctors through the USA. They're called biological dentists. They're controversial. The other dentists in the building don't tend to like them because what they sink in, these guys pull out.
That's sort of an understatement.
He said don't like them. By the way, they're double gloved. Every piece of silver they inhale or touch has to be handled especially. They don't inhale it. This is so amazing to me. It's like chemotherapy.
It is.
The nurses are all gloved up and don't drop it. And
Well, just think, though, what they did was put that in your mouth because it was the right thing to do. And in American dentistry, it's still the right thing to do. However, I'm glad to announce that we just had the World Mercury Treaty signed by all the nations that participated, and now that's coming home to the various nations to be implemented
serious.
to phase out the use of mercury in medicine.
You're not teasing me.
No, it
Okay,
just
'cause
happened.
I knew in Sweden, I knew in Germany, and some
Right.
other places they don't put amalgam
No.
in. They use porcelain or something like
Right.
that. Okay,
Which is
who's-
aluminum, incidentally, but that's all.
Who's the brainchild of putting mercury inside children's mouths?
Oh, actually, it's all an economic argument, okay? If you have kids with decay, well, first of all, you shouldn't have kids with decay, but you didn't get them to do proper brushing, and you didn't want them to brush after they ate all their sugar snacks, okay? What a deal. But it turns out that if they have decay, the quickest, simplest thing to do is to put mercury in. So Medicaid kids have to have mercury.
Medicaid.
Yes.
So county funded, state funded, have to have.
Exactly.
Do we
and
get
that's
a
just
choice?
the way people look at it. It's just cheap, quick, easy.
Okay, I had all of mine pulled out many, many years ago
Right.
by a doc at Baylor, a friend of mine, and he put in porcelain, and
Right.
I've been fine. Didn't feel much different, but I expected I would because so many people tell me when they have their mercury amalgam out,
Right.
boy, do they become alert and sharp,
Right.
and their joints don't hurt, and so forth.
It's not just amalgam, it's also the root canals.
Yeah, root canals too.
Exactly, because anytime we put something different in your mouth, we're in trouble. The thing is, you don't want to feel really different with a medical treatment because that means you were really on the edge.
Hal Huggins wrote a book called "It's All in Your Heads." It's all in your heads. He was a dentist who
Still is. I spent the weekend with him.
Neat guy. Does he do wet finger dentistry anymore?
No, he's retired.
Yeah.
He's dangerous now. He just talks.
And my
He's doing
guest,
infections and dentistry now.
there's nobody more dangerous, however, than my guest today, Dr. John Trowbridge. Very outspoken on many topics. And I got to tell you, folks, The Yeast Syndrome, an amazing book, inexpensive, and dead on for the past 30 years. Thank you, Dr. Trowbridge.
Thank you.
Don't go away. I'll be back with more.
In 1993, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Growing up, I didn't really take care of myself. And then when I started to want to have children, people would come up and say, "Are you even going to be able to have children?" And that would really discourage me. And in about 2005, I was watching Doug Kaufman, and everything just started to change. The sugar got under control, and everything just started to come alive for me. I felt better, and in 2007, I had my first daughter, and in 2008, a second daughter, and 2012, our third. So we've been blessed. Follow Doug's phase 1 diet as closely as possible. Olive leaf extract, the oregano oil. Caprylic acid was one of the first I ever took. Prayer, of course. If it can be done, you need to revamp your body to prepare itself for pregnancy, and that'll make it easier.
Depression is a serious condition in children and adults, and it can leave a person feeling helpless, lonely, and very disconnected from their life. The Center for Disease Control estimates that depression affects 1 out of every 10 people in the United States. As a pharmacist, I know we use strong pills for depression, and some of these are mind-numbing. It's interesting to me that researchers conducted a study, and they decided that fish oils work just as well as a popular drug called Prozac in many people.
So you walk into the kitchen, you've got a little phase 2 left, right? Hummus, that's garbanzo bean or chickpea, and you've got some seeds, quinoa, and you decide to mix them together for a good phase 2 lunch or snack. This is called hummus quinoa. Watch Kristen and Kyle as they demonstrate.
All right, as you are deep in phase 1 or you're transitioning to phase 2, there's a lot of flavors that keep the variety where they need to be, and it keeps it from being boring, Kristen, because there's nothing worse than a boring diet. Just broccoli and grilled chicken every single day. You will not stick with this any length of time. But I love what you're doing here. What are you making today?
Yeah, and it always needs to be quick and easy for, I think, everyone, whether you have kids or kids are out of the house and you're busy with something else, it needs to be quick and easy. So I always go for the meal in a bowl, I call it. Everything needs to be in there.
The Kristen bowls, right? Okay.
So I have a hummus quinoa. You can make it phase 1. I have a beanless hummus recipe that you can find on knowthecause.com.
Ooh.
Or you can get your favorite bean hummus. I like this, what is it, pita pal, I guess it is. And it's a basil and sun-dried tomato, so it's really tasty, but whatever you love.
But this has the regular beans,
yes,
though,
so
in it.
phase 2.
But so this is phase 2, but you have a phase 1 hummus online.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep. So you're going to cook your quinoa like you normally do. I always recommend doing it in broth. It gives it a little more flavor.
Ooh,
you just
like a chicken broth or
like
something.
a chicken broth, yep.
Good.
A little celery and onion, and then you cook your quinoa and you put the celery and onion in there and just kind of let that go. Little salt and pepper. You do the hummus. And you can add chicken if you want, or you can just go vegetarian, and that is it. Like, it's seriously.
That's really just it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
It's super quick and
So
easy.
do you sometimes have this as an actual full
We do.
meal?
I mean, we have that for a meal. I actually make some type of quinoa bowl for my husband for lunches during the week. So I make up all these little Pyrex dishes with this. And
oh my gosh.
It's actually, a really good, whole, complete protein, whether you add meat or not. The quinoa is complete.
It really is. That's what we love about the quinoa, is that, sorry, I just ate and it's fantastic. I should be over on the side just doing nothing but eating. The cool thing about quinoa is that it is a grain that eats like a protein, right? Because it is a complete protein. We're used to these carby grains that are like wheat. or even buckwheat. But with quinoa, it's interesting because there's plenty of protein. A serving of this has 6 grams of protein, which is excellent for a grain. And the fact that it hasn't been mass produced and mass stored means that the mycotoxins or the fungus that tends to grow on these grains and the mycotoxins they deposit just really aren't found in the quinoa, the buckwheat, the amaranth, these pseudo grains. And so that's one of the reasons that we love this. But forget all of that. Love it for the taste. I'm finally just getting my breath now because that onion and the celery makes it nice and spicy. Try this tonight. You'll love it.
I graduated when I was 50 years old. I do internal medicine. I'm also board certified in integrated medicine. I'm a fellow in non-invasive cardiology. And my background, I was a pharmacist and I have a doctorate, a PhD in pharmacology. I came here to learn something. When I first read his book, I felt like this is kind of like changing religions, but it's a lifestyle change. It's a learning process. You discover new things all the time. We aren't taught that in medical school. We aren't taught about antifungals. We just get the medication. This is used in a vaginal yeast infection. Sometimes you get yeast pneumonia. You have thrush. And that about covers it. I use fluconazole, and I'd like to use more of the Nizoral or Sporanox. However, most people are tied to an insurance program that usually don't cover it. So it's nystatin, either the swish and swallow, or the tablet, or just diflucan 200 milligrams a day. It's a two-edged sword. I mean, Big Pharma is getting bigger. They're putting restrictions. We go by what's called evidence-based medicine and also pay for service. For example, I have a diabetic who won't take a blood pressure pill, a certain one, because to protect the kidneys. My reimbursement is less. That part I see getting worse. This situation, I think, is awakening the general public and looking to do more things on their own. And I think the organized medicine is steering them that way because they're paying for less things and making things more expensive. So we're looking for alternative things that are safe. In 10 years, I think this will be mushrooming, no pun intended.
And that's a wrap. Didn't that look good? I could make a meal out of that. I really could. Now, folks, you graduate to the phase 2 diet. Many of you are very, very sick. You have diseases, and you want to follow the phase 1 diet. That little hummus quinoa is kind of a phase 2, but on occasion, it's okay to get that protein, carbohydrate from legumes in your diet. Thank you so much, Dr. John, for coming in. Dr. John Ganino, he's out here locally. Dear friend of mine, and explaining this, folks. When spelled with a W, he talked about alternative medicine, but when spelled with a W, holistic medicine implies the whole body's out of sync when this is ringing, when you have a disease of the year. Thank you for understanding that. Thank you, Dr. Ganino, for coming in. I hope and I wish upon every one of you that you are or you do become immunocompetent if you are now immunocompromised. Thank you for joining us today. Hey, by the way, I'm answering Facebook questions. Go to Facebook and ask away. God bless you, folks. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.